Hi, my name's Phil Gardner and welcome to Fun with Boxes. Well, I'm not normally a fan of IP games, but on this occasion, it's based on one of the finest TV shows out there at this moment in time. So we had to pick it up and give it a go and see what it's like. And what is this game? What is the IP? Well, it's Only Murders in the Building. Oh, the game. Well, I don't know if you've watched this absolutely wonderful TV show, but Only Murders in the Building is absolutely fantastic. One of my all-time favourites, I must admit. So what we have here is a 2 to 4 player game, which will take around 45 minutes to play. Your neighbour in the Arconia has been murdered, and it's time to take matters into your own hands and perhaps your own podcast. Help beloved amateur investigators Mabel, Charles and Oliver in this sharp-witted game of sleuthing and suspense. And it comes with a 3D building. So join me as I take a look at what comes with this game and take a look at how to set up and how to play it. Okay, to set the game up, the first thing we need to do is open up the game board and put that into the centre of the table. Next, we would take the suspect tile and place this onto any of the magnifying glasses on the board. And for your first few games, they recommend you placing them on either of these. So I'll just pop that there. Then you mix up the 7 object tiles and then you place these face up onto the remaining magnifying glass bases and position them so that the dotted line matches up. With the dotted line on the board. Then you would take the clue tiles, which are these tiles, and again you would mix these up. The easiest way to mix them up is to just put them all face down onto the table, shuffle them all up, or you can shuffle them like this. Pop these near the board. Take the episode cards, shuffle these up, and again place them next to the game board. And finally take the action cards and again shuffle these all up and pop them next to the board. Keep the stone clues tile somewhere close by, and also the group text tile, the accomplice dice, and all 4 movers. Keep these all nearby. And now we come to setting up this rather nifty little device here. And what we would do, we put this face down, then we take the solution cards, shuffle these up, and we take one of them, and without looking at it, slide this into the building. Like this, so that the word solution is visible at the back. And you return all the other solution cards. You won't need these. Return these to the box. So this is the building setup. Make sure all the windows and door are closed and set this up near the play area. Now around the board are these slots that are probably just off camera on the side and this side, but you can see them here. And what you need to do is place a reminder token around the board into each of these slots. Then give each player a double-sided player aid, and then the player who most recently listened to a podcast will take the first player marker. And there we are all set up and ready to play only murder in the building. So now onto the object of the game. Well, all players are going to win or lose as a team. And to win, we must link the suspect tile to the killer's apartment. So we've got to find the right apartment. Then correctly accuse the killer. So before making this link, you'll need to connect the suspect tile to the object tiles and find out which of the objects are inside the killer's apartment. But as you search for clues, the killer's accomplice can steal them. And if they steal 6 or more clues, you are all going to lose the game. So, how to play? The game is going to take place over several rounds, and these rounds are called episodes. And each episode has 5 steps, which you can see on the player aid card there. So there's the start of an episode, making a plan, moving and searching, connecting the clues, and then ending the episode. So let's take a look at start of an episode. So to do this, you would flip over the top card on the episode pile. And now we're going to add clue tiles to each of the apartments that are shown. So if we have a look here now, we need to set our card to match the orientation of the board. So let's turn this one around. So we got north here and south there. So into apartment B, we need to place one of these tiles. And these are going to be placed face up. Let's just put that there just for a bit of ease. So the next one we're going to place is in E. So I'll place that just there so you can see that there's a tile there, because that's off the board. And we need to put one into G, and then finally one into J. And again, I'll pop that onto the tile so we can see it. So we put out the 4 clue tiles, and then the episode card is going to show where the characters start. So we'll take Charles and we'll pop Charles onto this corner. I'll lay it down for you to be able to see. We'll take Oliver and pop him face down onto this one. And then we'll take Mabel and pop her down here. Now for the first episode, you would place the accomplice into the empty corner. And this is only for the first episode. On future episodes, you will leave the accomplice wherever it is landed during that episode. So now we're on to the second step of the episode, and that's make a plan. So what we would need to do is discuss together where each character should move and search during this episode. And our goal is to search the apartments that have clue tiles. Every episode, Charles, Mabel and Oliver can each search one apartment, but can only search apartments where they are welcome. And that is shown by the colour on the apartment welcoming mat here. So we can see Oliver and Charles are welcome here, whereas Mabel and Charles are welcome here. And you'll be using action cards to move and search, but you cannot discuss your cards once you look at your hand. So before we discuss any further, let's take a look at the action cards. Now there are 9 move cards, there are 2 search cards, there are 2 search or move cards, and then there are 3 special cards. Move 1 to 2, that's Mabel's special card. Move 1 to 3, that's Charles's, and a search card there for Oliver. And these are the cards that we just saw there. So after you've finished planning, the first player is going to take all 16 action cards and shuffle them up and deal a hand to each player. Now the size of the hand depends on the number of players. So if I was setting up a 2-player game, then we would deal 6 action cards to each player. With 3 players, you deal 5 action cards, and with 4 players, you would deal each player 4 action cards. And now we're on to the third step of the episode, and that is move and search. So when everyone is ready to take actions, you pick up your cards. But remember, you cannot discuss your cards once you look at them. So I'll have a look at these cards here. I'll place these out so we can just about see them. Now, on your turn, you play one card from your hand that matches the lead character. Now, the lead character, players can only play action cards for one character at a time, known as the lead character. So the first player chooses Charles, Oliver or Mabel to be the first lead character, then takes their turn. So you play one card from your hand that matches the lead character. What I could do is pick Charles as the lead character, and I could play this card from my hand, which I'll use as a move one, and move Charles one space onto the welcome mat. And we'll be either moving or searching. Now, if you can't play any cards or you don't want to, you can always pass, and the turn continues then in a clockwise order. Now, choosing a new lead. When the lead character searches an apartment, they are removed from the board, and the next player will start their turn by choosing a new lead. You can also remove the lead when you pass. When all three characters have been removed, we go to the next step of the episode. Now, as we've seen when we moved Charles, the lead character must move exactly the number of spaces on your card without doubling back. And if there's a range, you choose between that range. For instance, move 1 or 2 spaces. Now, characters move through the hallway spaces, not the courtyard or the apartments. So they're just moving around these spaces here. Characters can move clockwise or anti-clockwise, and characters cannot move into the apartment spaces. And if this stops them from moving the full distance on their card, they cannot move that direction at all. And characters can share the same space. Finally, there is the secret passage space, and characters can move between these spaces as if they were next to each other and can exit them in either direction. Now, searching. You can only search an apartment if the lead character matches the welcome mat and the apartment has at least one clue. So in this example, when I did that card, what I should have done, taken a look here, perhaps it'd be a good idea to play the move 3 card and move Oliver through the secret passage 1, 2, 3 to end up on the blue welcome mat at apartment B, which has a clue. Now, you can only search an apartment if the lead character matches the welcome mat and the apartment has at least one clue tile. And when you search, you remove the lead from the board and you would collect all the clue tiles at that location. The next player will start their turn by choosing a new lead. And if all 3 characters have been removed, then we go on to the next step of the turn. So using Oliver at that space, we could play a search card to go into the building, have a route around and take then what we find and put that in front of ourselves. Now, when you pass, you choose one of these 2 options and you can still play cards on future turns. So you can remove the lead character, you can place them next to the board, and the next player starts their turn by choosing a new lead character from the remaining characters. And if there are none, we simply go on to the next step of the episode. Now, what we can do also is stall for time. If you don't want to play a card, but you also don't want to remove the lead character, you can stall for time. But when you do it, the accomplice takes a turn and you roll the die and move them that many spaces in the direction of the closest tile. So here's our apprentice. If I take my cards, if it was my turn and I was passing and I wanted to stall for time, then I would roll the dice and move the accomplice to the closest apartment with a clue, which is this one. Now, if 2 tiles are equally close, we move them clockwise. and the accomplice will ignore the secret passageways. Now, the accomplice can steal clue tiles when they move. For any new spaces they moved into that turn, check the space's apartments and place all clue cards in those apartments onto the stolen clues tracker. Oh no, so this accomplice would have stolen that clue. Now, as you can see, if 6 or more tiles have been stolen, then the game will end and all players will lose. There is the group text. Now, although you can't talk during this step, you can send a text message. One player may flip the group text tile over and then show everyone one card from their hand. Any player can use the group text at any time, but there can only be one used per episode, so use that wisely. And now we're on to the 4th step, which is connecting clues. And now at this point we can all talk again. Now, as a team, you must place all the clue tiles that you collected during that episode. So if we just use these as an example, let's pretend we managed to get these 3 clue tiles during that episode. And you'll be placing these tiles, creating paths that connect the suspect to the object tiles. And the object tiles show the 6 different objects that are found in apartments, plus 1 dead end. Creating paths to them will show you which objects are in the killer's apartment. To win, you also need to connect the suspect tile to the apartment you want to accuse. Now, you can place a tile onto any of the spaces in the courtyard here, and you can place them in any orientation. You can even cover up previously placed tiles, but only these clue tiles. You can't cover up the yellow tiles or the suspect tile there. Now, as soon as you connect the suspect tile to an object, you open the window of the building with that object on the outside, and you can open it before placing other clues. So we can connect this one, and then before we start trying to connect to some other clues, we can do this before we do that. So we would look for the necklace here, and what we would do is open up the window. And lo and behold, we have found a necklace. Now, if the window shows the object inside, it means this object is in the killer's apartment. What we need to do now is remove all reminder tokens from the apartments without that object. So this apartment doesn't have that object. This apartment does, and this apartment does. This apartment doesn't, so we would remove that. These would stay there. This stays there. This would be removed. This would stay there. This would be removed. This would be removed. And this would be removed. So as you can see, we are narrowing down which apartment. Now, if instead the window had shown an object with an X over it, that would mean the object is not in the killer's apartment. And instead we would remove all the reminder tokens from apartments that have that object. Now, for instance, if we had connected the suspect to the heart there, rather than to the necklace, then we would open up the heart window, and there we go now. So that object is not in the killer's apartment. So we would remove any of these tokens that had the heart icon on them. And then we come to the final part of the episode. There are a number of steps to finish the episode, and the first step is completely optional. You may make an accusation. Now, I'll take a look at that in a moment. Then the accomplice will take a turn, and we roll the dice and move them just like we did when we stalled for time. So watch out, they can still steal clue tiles. Then we would flip over the group text to make sure it is back face up and ready for use in the next episode. And we would collect all the action cards back into a pile and then pass the first player token to the left. And then we'd start the next episode by then flipping over the next episode card and continuing as we did. And you would leave the accomplice and any clue tiles we didn't collect where they are for the next episode. Now, on to accusations, winning and losing. To win the game, we must make a correct accusation, but you only get one chance. You accuse the killer by naming which of the 12 apartments you think is theirs. You can't accuse until there is a connection between the suspect tile and the apartment we are going to name. So, for example, if we think this was the killer's apartment, then we would have to make sure that we have connected that apartment to the suspect. And when you decide together to make your accusation, you open the door of the building. If it shows a different apartment than you accuse, the killer's going to get away and we all lose. But if we accuse correctly, we all win the game together. So let's pretend we're ready to make the accusation and we're going to say the killer was in this apartment. We would open this up and lo and behold, we were right. Apartment C was the killer, so we would have won the game. Now, the players also lose immediately if the accomplice steals 6 clue cards or more. So if the accomplice is close to stealing 6 clues, you may decide to make your accusation before you know all 3 objects. Now, for a more challenging game, there is an advanced play. So during setup, we place the suspect tile on an outer courtyard space. So instead of placing it into the middle of the board like we did last time, we would place it onto an outer space of the board. And if you want to really make things tricky, then you can add clue cards at random onto the stolen clues board before you start the game. The more you add, obviously, the harder it is to win. And there you have it. That's how you play Only Murders in the Building. Well, here you go. Only Murders in the Building, the game. It's a lightweight family game, and it's got that 3D building there, which is a lovely little, I know it's a gimmick, but it's a lovely little 3D building. And all the components and playing pieces, they're all great. And the game sort of reminds me a tiny bit of sort of Cluedo, really. But you're building this sort of pathway in the middle of the Arconia. And that's quite a fascinating little thing there. I've not really seen that in many games before. So that was quite interesting. So if you're a fan and you like the look of this game, well, why not go and treat yourselves to Only Murderers in the Building, the game. Well, I do hope you enjoyed taking a look at this with me. If you did, please consider hitting the old like button, and also please hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, because that would really help to grow the channel. And in the meantime, as always, please do take care and bye for now.